19 months ago, I brought home a brand new baby. Now I'm living with a tiny baby who has opinions. We are in this fun little phase I like to call the whiny phase. It is loud, it is relentless, and some days it whoops my ass. Yes, I said ass. And at the same time, it might just be the most magical shift that I've ever experienced. I get to watch my daughter Zora move from baby to real person in real time. Now her body is stretching out, her words are landing, and she is like, I'm here to stay. So I decided to talk about this because I really want to capture this moment because I'm really trying to find a balance between loving on my beautiful little daughter and balancing stress that comes from the tantrums of a toddler going into 2. It's a struggle. And also to talk about how motherhood normalized a level of discomfort that I didn't really imagine myself being able to handle, that I'm now able to handle without too much thought or too much fight. There's this moment lately where I'll be standing in the kitchen watching her reach across the counter or watching her reach up to touch the counter because she's tall enough now. And she's always reaching for something she should not be reaching for, right? But like I said, I have that, oh Lord, realization like 3 or 4 times a week because it's just this realization that, wow, she really is a human. You gave birth to this and you get to watch her grow and she's developing. Here's her little personality. She's a little snappy. She's a little expressive, but we love her. And she'll giggle with you. She'll hug you. And then she might pinch you. You never know. And now she moves through the room and she moves through spaces with such intention. Like you can watch her observe and watch her eyes lock in on something, and that's something that piques her interest, and she might be a little curious and she'll go check it out, and if it piques her fancy, she'll keep playing with it, but if not, she'll kind of ignore it, keep walking until she finds something else to get into, which most of the time is stuff I don't want her to get into. And it's like, and I know some people are like, duh, babies are new, it's their first time in the world, and yes, you understand that like up here, but when you're living in it day to day and you're watching this person get these new software updates, like I call them, like she wakes up every morning and it's like something new now every morning, to where I'll open her door and be like, good morning. And now she's like saying stuff back. It's more like that new job, but I understand her. We see each other. But like I said, we are deep in the whiny phase. And some days the whiny part outweighs the sweet, lovable baby that I know and love. And this little, I don't know what you call it, but I see another side of my baby that I'm like, wow, all right, so we're doing this now. Okay, all right. For example, right? She knows the sign for milk. We've been signing since she could start understanding sign language. So she knows the sign for milk. And now she knows the word milk, even though it comes out more like a milk, cup milk, cup milk. And so she will be signing that she wants some milk. And as soon as you acknowledge it, she's expecting it to pop into her hand. So you have eye contact. You want some milk? You want some milk? Okay. I'd be like, you just had to say yes. You want milk? Yes. Yes? Okay, I'm gonna go get it. And like I'm trying to narrate with her and like teach her kind of patience and waiting. But there is no teaching at the moment. She's just big old whiny baby. So yeah, she has her word for milk. Milk. And when she wants her milk, I try to move with a sense of urgency, like it's an emergency, but she do not care that it's not an emergency. She just is acting like it is. So all these sirens are going off, and by sirens, I mean her whining. It's very high pitched. And as someone who is really sensitive and stimulated by sounds, it can be a lot. Like sometimes I will just kind of catch myself being like clearly overwhelmed, but having to really like lock into the motherhood part of my body that's like overriding all my feelings in order to take care of hers. So yeah, she puts you under, these kids put us under a lot of pressure, and they don't even really understand what pressure is yet. But once she's given her cup of milk, all is well, tears are dry. She's happy, she's laughing and drinking the cup with one hand, taking it to the head. And she used to do this thing where she would throw the cup and then holler, but we passed that phase now, thank God, for now. But that phase was a little woo-wee, because now you showing out. Act like you ain't got no home training. And I'll be honest, some days I do wonder to myself, like, if this was a test, would I be failing right now? Like, am I a good mom? And then I'll look back in the mirror and I'll just see her kind of just watching the world go by, and her eyes twinkle at certain things, like things she can recognize now, like school buses, fire trucks. She knows the wheels on the bus. She loves open and shut. So just watching her show off her new skills and her new knowledge, it just lights my heart up, and it makes all the whiny moments they just disappear. When I see the twinkle in her eyes when I start singing the wheels on the bus, she gets her arms ready. Her wipers are like this, and I love it. Oops, sorry. And now we do like this fun call and response thing when I drive her to daycare, where she'll just be like, I'll be like, Zora, and she'll be like, ah, and then I'll say, ah, back, and then she giggles really loud and sounds like a little rugrat, and my heart melts, and I just fall in love with her all over again. And in certain moments, I also have to kind of step in to remind myself, like, hey, she is only 19 months old, and this is her first time being alive, just as well as it is mine, but I've been here a lot longer than her. She's still understanding things, she's still in a discovery phase, and her being what I view as defiant is really her just learning. And so I'm having to be really intentional about holding back my frustration when, she might do something that I tell her not to do, and she's going to continue to do it because the part of her brain that says, oh, listen to mommy, I'm not supposed to be doing this, it's not there all the way yet. And I have to continue to be consistent with her. And sometimes when you are tired from the day and the kid is in discovery phase, it can get real talk through your teeth, tell you to sit down, if you know what I mean. When your mom will come and pull you and say, I thought I told you to go sit your ass down over here. Do you want to get beat up in public? Okay. Like, it makes you want to do one of those, but I'm not doing one of those. So just kind of had to take like deep breaths to myself and kind of just be like, okay, this is just a phase and it'll pass, and she's not in danger. She's not hurting anything, and she won't become a deviant just because she doesn't listen right now. So, it's not necessarily her being bad or hard-headed. It's just her figuring out what boundaries are, and what does it mean when mommy's voice gets a little high and she looks at me a little sternly. What does that mean? Oh, maybe I should sit down. Mommy doesn't look happy, but I'm gonna do it again, and the cycle continues. When we've been apart, I always get butterflies, and that is so funny because, like, I mean apart as in, like, when her grandparents come get her, but also when I drop her off at daycare. Like, one of the best parts of my day is going into her daycare to pick her up and just seeing her face now, that she'll recognize you and take off running and, like, come to hug you, and she's screaming all this delightful noise. And I get to see all the friends she makes, all the people she interacts with, all the other little kids. And some kids are older than her, and I get to see the things that they're doing, and they're saying words. They're saying her name, which is crazy because Zora's a hard name to say if you don't know your Z's or your alphabet. But I've heard a kid say her name, and that's just crazy. So, and her eyes light up when I mention her classmates' names. Like, as we're getting ready in the morning, I'll be like, do you want to go see so-and-so? And she's like, yeah. But she isn't quite saying names yet. But the kids who are a couple months older than her are. And then I get to see kids who are her age and like what they're doing, and, what skills are they doing? What sounds are they saying? And I will not lie, y'all. That comparison trap is when your baby is growing up around other kids, it's really hard to not play the comparison game. Because naturally, when we see two things that are somewhat alike, whether in size and age, whatever, we naturally want to compare the two. That's a dangerous game because if these babies grow at their own individual pace, they are not running the same race. There is a race here for this baby, and there's a race here for this baby. And they're the only one participating in this race. So this baby can be up here, right? And this baby can be back here. And they both can be on track. It's hard not to look around, though, and quietly wonder, like, is my kid on the right track? Am I doing the right things to help her get on the right track? And it can really mess with your mind. People say that kids run their own race, and while they do, it's still a mental game that you have to acknowledge and you have to push through. And for me, that's easier said than done because I'm always having to remind myself, like, this is not a competition. This is not a competition. Because my daughter grew very fast. Like, before she turned 1, she was doing a lot of things that other 1-year-olds weren't quite doing yet. And then between like 12 and probably 17 months, she kind of like grew into herself. She started showing a little more toddler energy, but compared to other toddlers her age, some of them were already saying a couple of sentences and some ABCs. And, my baby, she had some sounds, she was saying some words. And naturally, when I share videos and pictures with other moms and they're sharing it back and we're seeing progress updates with our kids, I'm naturally like, dang, she doing all that? Like, Zoe need to go get in the gym. She need to get in the field. But at the same time, she don't, because she gonna talk when she want to talk. And all I can do is keep putting the tools in front of her to enable her to talk and be educated. And so that's what I continue to do. Worry about things I can control and help her out, and not stress over things that are going to come or, are not indicators of how far along she is in her development. And so, like, even my husband's family, they mentioned intervention, like speech therapy intervention, or just some type of, like, bringing in someone while the kids are still young, because you can get intervention up to, like, I think 5 or 3. I'll put it here. But yeah, they were bringing up, like, getting a consultation and, like, just getting her assessed. And of course, like, I know that they weren't saying that, she might be delayed or whatever, but I was like, it just kind of triggered that, what would I call it? The control freak, not even control. It triggered the researcher in me. And I know that when I go down a rabbit hole about something, it can be really hard for me to get out of that rabbit hole and to not see signs of things happening that aren't there, right? So I wasn't prideful, but I was just like a little hesitant at first, because I was like, I know how I can get. I'll be on Reddit threads looking for signs of stuff that aren't there. Like, I'll be looking at her too much, over analyzing, freaking out. And so, like I said, I refocus. I have to constantly refocus on my own kid. And so, focusing on my own kid, we continue to do flashcards. She continues to watch shows like Miss Rachel and Super Simple Songs, where the repetition is the name of the game. And some of these songs are so catchy and so fun that we have such a fun time doing them. And she still communicates. She knows her body parts. She knows when you say things. She's just still working on developing that speech. But like I said, every day I swear she picks up a new word. The other day she said, what did she say? This morning she said downstairs. After I said, do you want to go downstairs? She said, yeah, downstairs. And I was like, yeah, downstairs. And whenever I'm like, you ready to go to school? She ready to go school? Yeah, let's go school. So, I'm just continuously like narrating our day. And I know she's going to pick up. I mean, she was seeing giraffe a couple months ago, back in November. So I am not even worried about her. But I am still waiting on that consult call. I need to follow up. I feel like when you have a spouse or like someone who's your partner, you get to know them like on a more in tune level, to the point where you can start to anticipate their needs and like think the things that they are thinking before they tell you that they're thinking it. That's kind of how it has become with the kid. I mean, it was kind of, I always had like, mother's instinct is pretty much never wrong. But nowadays it's more like there's a gap between what she's trying to say and what we understand. And that attunement, like being aligned with her, allows me to bridge that gap. Or, if I understand that she might be looking for something, because I know she has like her favorite, the thing that kids have where they just become attached to the thing. She's attached to floral pants that are too little for her, by the way. The book Llama Red Pajama, and laundry dryer balls. Like, those are her things and she wants them. So when she goes upstairs, she's looking for them. And so I can be like, you looking for a ball? And she's like, ba. And so I'll go get her the ball, and her eyes light up like, wow, mommy knew what I wanted? That's crazy. And she'll look at me with like such wonder, like, how did you know? And I'm like, girl, I know you. And sometimes, and like my husband is also very in tune with his daughter. Sometimes he's more in tune with her than I am. And I really appreciate that, because sometimes I be logged off up here. It don't be much happening. And so, like I mentioned, she's obsessed with the book Llama Red Pajamas, right? Every night we read that book probably 2 times minimum, maybe 3. And so when we grab the book, she says, here. And she brings me the book, and we sit in her rocking chair and we rock and we read. And she helps me turn the pages. There's this line in the book that says, mama kisses baby's hair. And she leans in for a kiss. I've always kissed her hair. And then one day she started anticipating that line in the book. And so sometimes like she'll wake up in the morning and I'll bring her out of her bed and be like, okay, let's go brush our teeth. she'll go grab the book. And I'm like, she'll turn to the page that says it. And she loves when I like and reenact like the noises and the sounds. And I'm just very animated when I read with her because it's just so fun. And I love being in that imaginative state with her, like of just how silly this really is. She eats it right on up. But she gonna make you read that book before you do anything. You better not skip Mama Kisses Baby's hairline. You better kiss her. Yeah, but it says it like twice. And every time she like leans up and she like puts her head on my lips. And I'm like, girl, you just made my entire day. I love this life. I could be having the worst day. If she does that, my day is no longer a bad day. I'm having a wonderful day. People like to tell me a lot how I seem to kind of display motherhood and how I show off motherhood from my point of view. And I that is a big compliment for me. I like to add as much magic into my baby's world as I can until she gets old enough to realize that the world has its flaws and that, it's not perfect and there's a reason for a fire truck. When she learns that, we'll help her through, we'll guide her through, but for the time being, while she's still young and innocent, I want to create a magical world for her. And so I find really good joy in a lot of things. Like she'll, now she used to throw her spoon when she would be done eating, but now she puts the spoon on her plate when she's done and she goes, done. And I clap for that because you put the spoon on the plate. You didn't throw the spoon like you used to do. Great job. Or when it's time to go to bed, I'm like, you want to go upstairs? You ready to go put on your pajamas and brush your teeth and wash your face? She's like, yeah. And so she'll grab my hand and I'll be like, tell Dada good night and throw a kiss. And now she does this. And so that's her waving good night. And so she says good night and we go on upstairs where she is holding my hand or she decides to walk on her own. But I'm just so impressed by everything she does every day. I love it. Before I had Zora, I used to imagine all these like worst case scenarios about being a mom, right? Especially the one where it's like the blowout moment where the baby poops and the poop just keeps coming. And now you have poop like on your clothes, on you, on your hair. And, pre-mom me was like, throw the whole baby away. Duh. You can't throw the baby away. I mean, you can, but you'll go to jail and you can live it yourself, right? So, I don't throw it away. But when it actually happens, and it happened a lot, I didn't even panic. Like, it was very frustrating for me because a lot of times it would happen when it was just me and her at the house, so I didn't have any help. And this is when she was much younger. But, when you get in those situations, you don't quit. You don't get like a pause or an exit button. My mind just instantly goes into, okay, we're in this shitty situation, no pun intended. We need to do to get out of it. Okay, taking off our clothes, we're running bath, we're getting wipes. We're just figuring it out. We're not complaining about it. We're not crashing out about it. We're just trying to figure out how to get out of it. And when we get out of it, then we can breathe and go, well, that was unfortunate. But in the moment, nah, we ain't worried about it. But yeah, the shift from theoretical parenting to actual parenting is a whiplash difference, right? Yeah, you don't get to quit. You just move and you handle what's in front of you until you pass it. And it's crazy because that applies to way more than parenting right now. That line is very much the headline of my life right now. I do not get to quit. I handle it. And I've been doing a pretty good job, but that's a constant reminder I need sometimes. I did not know if I would be a good mom. I'll be honest. That was one of my biggest fears when I was pregnant. I was asking a lot of people, like, do you think I'll make a great mom? Because I got some things up here. My brain operates a certain way that sometimes is scary to me. And I was like, bringing a baby into the world, is this the smartest thing to be doing for me? And surely enough, I'm no perfect mom. I am no spectacular mom. I don't do everything the right way. I could do a lot of things better, but I love my child. I try my best. And, the concern, everyone's first thing when I would ask, you think I'll be a good mom? They would say the fact that you're asking that means you'll be a good mom. Like shitty moms don't care that they're shitty moms. They sometimes don't even realize they're shitty moms, but you have enough self-awareness where you'll get yourself in check. And I mean, honestly, that's why I started therapy a very long time ago because I was like, I know at some point I'm going to have a kid. And I got a lot going on that I don't want to pass off onto this kid and misdirect anger and feelings towards them. So, it's very strategic about that. And sometimes I have to check myself still to be like, you're upset right now, but you're not upset at her. So you're not going to take it out on her. You're going to go cool off and come back when you can talk to her in a more appropriate tone, because right now you're bringing the outside world into your house, and your house is a place of peace and solace. It's not a place of contempt or disdain. It's a place of love and nurturing, and that's what you need to go do. And sometimes I have to tell myself that, like put myself in a little timeout to come in here and cool down until I can talk to her like a mother should. And by the grace of God, I am not doing this journey by myself. I have a wonderful support system between family, friends. There are so many people who would help me move the moon and the stars for sweet Zozo. And for that, like, I am so appreciative for those people. I put in a lot of work to build community for myself, and I'm feeling the fruits of that now in like how people show up for my daughter. It means a lot to me. And when I bring people into my home, the fact that we have a mutual understanding of, I trust you around my daughter to keep her safe, but do not question whether I'll kick you out my house if you make my kid feel unsafe. And that's just the truth. My husband is incredible. And even on my worst days, the days where I'm so exhausted, I just had a day where I was so tired. And I'm in a season of recovery from burnout right now. And the other day I was just so exhausted. I was so tired. But I was the only one with Zora at the time. And I just kind of had to push through that. And what gave me that strength that I felt like I didn't have was God. I think the praying grandmother becomes a praying grandmother because she became a praying mom who prayed for strength, who prayed for endurance, who prayed for rest, who prayed for well-being, who prayed for protection over her children. And then that praying mom becomes that praying grandmother. And I've been seeing a lot of talk about like how analytical people connect with God. And I am an analytical person because I have a lot of questions about like how's this happen? But the encounters that I have with God, especially during motherhood, show me without a doubt that he is real. Like I am a firm believer in my faith has only gotten stronger because the moments where I lean on God the most is the moment he shows up the most. And I might not even realize it in the moment, but like praying really gets me through a lot. Moments of overwhelm, moments of anxiety and dread. When I don't think I can do it, I give it to him and we do it together. He's there with me, and it's, one day I hope to be a praying grandmother. I will be. But yeah, God gives me the strength to keep going when I am running on one last nerve. Motherhood has normalized the uncomfortable. Y'all know that picture of the Black woman, and she's like, that's how I feel a lot, right? And that's kind of how I always feel. Like it's this low, dull ache in my back. There's this light headache that kind of just lingers. There's this kind of anxiety. Like I've just become comfortable with having these afflictions. I don't know if that's the right word, actually. But yeah, before motherhood, like even the idea of like a super messy house, of my living room looking like a daycare would have drove me up a wall. But, now that's just life and that's just what it is. I don't even make, excuses for my home being in the state it is. Like when we have company, we hosted a little Super Bowl gathering the other day, and someone said, I'm glad you still had company despite, your home being lived in, and you didn't try and like clean up, because they were like, that's what we need more of. And people keep telling me that, right? And I've seen reactions to people with like messy homes, content creators with messy homes, and my home can be quite messy. But, when the people who matter come, I'm like, hey, heads up, it's lived in right now. I don't refer to it as messy, but it's very lived in. So you might see loads of clothes piled up. You might see a little speck of dust. You might see some shoes thrown under the couch that nobody will be able to locate in a while. Or you might find a cup in the couch. Like, you just never know, honestly. Living with a toddler, every day is a new mystery. It's a big old game of Scooby-Doo. So yeah, the duality of living with a toddler is a really interesting phase to be in, because one minute she's independent, she's pushed her climbing tower into the bathroom to wash her hands, and she's in there, with the soap, and she's getting her sleeves wet and doing this and enjoying the water. And then when it's time to be done washing hands, she is throwing a fit. She is mad. And she is becoming a dictator who is pissed off that you turned off her water. Because how dare you? And she gonna try and turn it on again. And I'm gonna turn it back off. And then it's a it's her yelling, and I'm just like, yeah, I understand you're upset, friend, but you ain't putting nothing on the water bill, so off it goes. Side note, the baby's obsession with water is crazy right now. She likes sink water, bath water. She loves a good bath. And her uncle bought her a bath toy that sprays water, and now that she knows how to work the little trigger, she'll just put the spout outside of the bathtub and just click it. So she be making little puddles in my bathroom, y'all. Like, when I tell you she don't know what stop means, she'll hear me go stop and we'll keep going. So I've since hid that spray bathroom toy because I can't take cleaning up another pile of water anymore. But you have the high-pitched screaming fits. You have the questions that pop in your head. Am I doing this right? Is gentle parenting? Is this a gentle parenting child? Do I get to gentle parent this child, or am I going to have to, you wonder if you're doing it right, if you're doing enough, if you're doing too much. Those are not things that just go away. They are kind of things that keep popping up. You just have to keep reminding yourself, like, I'm doing all right. I'm doing well. She's fed, she's taken care of, she's happy, and that's all that matters. And even in the moments of like overstimulation and being drained and being tired and, just being tired from being a mom, I still enjoy those little moments where I see her pick up something new, or I see her repeat something or do something she saw me do. Like, she picks up my purse now and goes like, bye-bye, and goes to the door, which is so funny to me because she really be watching me, and like, it's really making me more intentional about the things I do now. And she's just, she's just a little version of me, but not really. She's her own person. But when I look at her, I see me, and I just love being her mommy. I love being a mom. We're 19 months in. I can't wait to see where we go from here. Like, it's hard to believe that she's closer to being 2 than she is to being 1, because I feel like we just had her birthday party yesterday. So while this phase is stretching me every which way, it is still a beautiful reminder of life and growth. It's still a clear reminder that my baby girl that I birthed and grew from scratch in my tummy is becoming her own self. She's picking up her own little quirks. She has her own personality. Some things you be like, oh, that's your mama, or oh, that's your daddy. But some things is just Zora. And like, coming to terms with that and realizing that is pretty interesting, to say the least. Like, she really gonna have her own ways about her, and I love it. Like I said, it's a reminder that she's becoming herself. It's a reminder to me and her that this is her first time being alive. Like, we're both doing this for the first time. And so, I always extend a little grace to myself. I always ask God to guide me because I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the trick. Don't nobody know what they're doing. They just out here winging it and hoping for the best. And, reading a couple self-help books every now and then, but not too many because that's dangerous too. But yeah, I'm just doing me, man. And I seem to be doing something right because she's a great kid. So, great mom today. I get 5 stars. So yes, the whiny phase is loud. It is exhausting, but it's her new way of discovery. It's how she's going to learn emotional regulation. And as someone who put in a lot of work to learn how to regulate her own emotions, I cannot wait to help give my baby the tools to regulate her emotions. Right now, we're singing Miss Rachel's Big Feelings Are Okay anytime we feel sad, or Daniel the Tiger's When You Feel So Mad That You Want to Roar. Take a deep breath and count to 4. Let me know in the comments where you guys are in your motherhood or parenthood journey, how you're handling toddlerhood, and what new things they're showing off to you. What software update you got recently? I got the 19 months one. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.